For my masthead, I stuck to the conventions of placing it at the top of the page. This is done by the top music magazines like Kerrang, Q and XXL. I also named my magazine Anthem, which is simple, catchy and music related, which is also conventional of music magazines. For example, Kerrang and Rock Sound are both simple and music related. Usually, the main cover line is the largest piece of writing on the page, so that it catches the attention of the reader. I decided to develop this on my magazine, as the main cover line is the biggest piece of typography on the page. However, it is a plain colour and doesn't stand out as much as the words Unmasked and World Exclusive, which anchor it. I did this as I felt that these words were more important than the artist's name. I stuck to the conventions of my cover lines as they are not too long and provide a short overview of what is going to be in the magazine. I also used them to cover up the dead space. In many magazines, the size of the cover lines decrease as the articles decrease in importance. I challenged this by keeping all of my cover lines the same size as they are equally important, and I wanted to convey this to the reader. Conventionally, the barcode of a magazine is placed horizontally in the bottom corner of the magazine, and in it features the date, price and website. I included that information, however I challenged this by placing the barcode vertically in the middle of the page. This was a stylistic choice. As well as this, I slightly developed the content within the magazine by including institution as I placed the IPC Media logo in the barcode. The main image of a magazine is conventionally a medium or close-up shot. I challenged this by including various shot types in one picture, as each individual model is at a different level, which is not commonly done by magazines. I had to do this as there were 3 different photos and it was a manned shot. Despite this, I included many conventions of the rock genre. For example, the male model is holding drumsticks, 2 of the models are wearing dark clothing, 1 model is wearing a rock band t-shirt, and they all also have face makeup on. One of the banners on my magazine was promoting rockin' posters. It is conventional of many magazines to include 3 posters, especially ones in the rock music genre such as Kerrang and Rock Sound. This is also done by magazines with a younger target audience, as younger people like to have the posters. I use the word rockin' as it links with the slang that my target audience will be using, as well as the music genre. There are some magazines that include a selling line on their front cover. An example of this is Q magazine, who call themselves the world's greatest music magazine. I challenge this by not including a selling line in my magazine, as I feel confident enough in my brand without it. I placed the website address for Anthem magazine under the masthead. This challenges conventions, as most magazines place the web address in the barcode. I placed it under the masthead so that it stood out more to the reader, as I want it to be noticed, as it conveys the idea that my magazine is always up to date with the latest news online. For the columns on my contents page, I stuck to conventions by keeping the writing in grid-like columns. This is done on most magazines, however they vary the number of columns on the contents page. I included 3 columns, however Q, Kerrang and Rock Sound magazine only use 1 column of main writing. However, in older editions of Kerrang they included 4 columns usually. Contents pages usually feature narrow gutters, which I stuck to as it makes the page look neater and well presented, as well as nicely breaking up the text. They also usually feature institutional conventions like the company logo or Synergy. As I included the IPC Media logo on the front cover of my magazine, I didn't feel the need to also include it on my contents page. However, I did include a synergy on my contents page in the form of a partnership with Ticketmaster. This was a deal to encourage people to buy my magazine subscription. It is conventional to include a lot of social media on the magazine, as institutions are really trying to push social media as they recognise the importance of it. I challenged this by not including social media and just directing fans to my website. However, as Twitter, Facebook and Instagram are so important for creating a brand identity and building a relationship with the reader, I will make sure to use them. Conventionally, magazines would include an editor's letter. This encouraged me to include an editor's letter in my magazine in an attempt to build up a relationship with the reader so that they develop a loyalty towards my magazine and want to buy it regularly. To further this, I included a picture of the editor in hopes of further developing loyalty. I did not include a staff list on my contents page, however developed it by including the photographer of the photos alongside the photo. As well as this, I anchored the photos with a short and light-hearted caption to reflect my magazine's style and to again build up reader loyalty. It is conventional for a music magazine to caption the image and keep it short and simple, which is what I did. Typically, magazines include one main image on their contents page relating to their main article, and then they include other smaller images which relate to the smaller articles in the magazine. I followed this convention as I included a main image of the band Critically Overthinking and then smaller images of other artists like Alex Gaskarth. In this image, he is on stage mid-concert and this is supported by the guitar and mics. This is conventional of music magazines as concerts are so important to music. One convention of contents pages is to place a baseline at the bottom of the page. I followed this convention. It is conventional of magazines to show at the page the contents page by including a title. I followed this technique also in my magazine. Conventionally, magazines will use subheads like features and regulars, however I developed this by changing the names of my subheads to the pit and breakdown, which are words that relate specifically to rock and metal music to build up my relationship with the audience. This is because they will use these words in their vocabulary and will appreciate the fact that they are used in my magazine. I included a digital-only section on my contents page. This is not conventional of magazines as they only have a subhead for the physical copies of the magazines. I did this to promote the idea that you can get extra content if you purchase the digital edition of my magazine. I aim to sell as many digital copies of my magazine as possible as there is a low production cost, so I will be able to lower the price of my magazine and therefore sell more copies of it. I kept a consistent house style as I kept the front cover and contents page similar as they have the same stories, typeface and models. It is conventional for the body text on a double page spread to be in Arial, Helvetica or Times New Roman and in a font no bigger than size 12. I stuck to this convention on my double page. I used a size 11 font in Helvetica as I thought that it looked best with the layout of my double page and the modern house style of my magazine. Another convention of double pages is to include a drop cap, which I also used in my magazine as it nicely broke up the beginning of the text and looked good alongside the rest of the body text. Another way I broke up the text was by including columns and dividing the text into 3. I used the same models as on my front cover and contents page as it created a narrative that ran throughout the pages. For example, on the front cover the models look fun, but on the double page you see the models become more crazy and follow the conventions of a rock star. This also allows the reader to see into the artist's personality and get to know them better. I have included a lot of mise-en-scène as one model is holding a guitar and the other is holding drumsticks, which are rock-based instruments. The headline is a pull quote direct from the article. It is conventional of the headline to be the biggest piece of text on the page, which I followed. However, I developed the positioning of the headline as I placed it in the centre of the page going through the models. This is because I thought that it looked better stylistically like this. It is conventional for the lead to be in a 30-point font, in bold and in a different colour. I slightly altered this with my lead as I used a 22-point font. As well as this, I placed it in a different colour from the body text so that it stood out more. It was also in bold with the most important word, never, in a different colour so that the reader noticed it. I placed the byline horizontally in the bottom corner of the page, which is conventional of magazines. As well as this, I placed the kicker in the top corner of the page, which is also conventional. In the kicker there is the band's name, Critically Overthinking. This is useful for readers who are just flicking through the magazines looking for their favourite bands.